Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Wealth Conversation podcast with me, Tsitsi Mutiti. I guide high-achieving women on their journey to build lasting wealth so they can prepare for an abundant future in every area of their life. I hope that today's episode will help you to transform your relationship with money so you can make the choices that will enable you to create the opportunities and lasting wealth that you desire. Let's get straight into this week's episode. Welcome to the second episode in the Wealth Cornerstone Series. In the first episode, I revisited what physical and mental well-being means to 5 of my previous guests. In this episode, I will be focusing on spiritual well-being. Now, if this is your first time listening to the Wealth Conversation podcast, you may be asking yourself, what are the Wealth Cornerstones? So let me break it down for you. We all have the desire to create wealth on our own terms, and I believe that this can be achieved once you are clear on what wealth means to you in the following areas of your life: physical, mental, spiritual, social, and financial. So in this episode, I revisit what spiritual well-being means to 5 of my previous guests, and I hope that their definitions will help you to create your own unique definition of wealth. First up is the wonderful Mariam Ernest. After her own experiences of family estrangement, Mariam now works with people who have experienced the same thing. Her work revolves around igniting the hope, joy, personal strength, and most importantly, peace of mind with her tested mindset program of learn, reframe the narrative, rediscover, and recover. Mariam's definition of spiritual well-being is as follows.
So spiritual. Now, I would say it's really good to have spiritual awareness. You know why? Because even if you exercise every single day, even if you eat healthy, guess what? Life happens, people happens, relationship breakdown, right? You might be looking after yourself either way, but if you might have a wife who cheats on you, you might have a habit that's going to affect your mental health at some point, right? And if you internalize that thinking, well, they must have done it, or your family rejects you, they must have done because I'm unlovable. How good is it to tap into that spiritual world? How is it good to tap into God, whether you're religious or you're not? Believing in bigger, believing there's something higher than you that you can just tap in. For me, I like to get to that space by meditating, right? And I know there's so much abundance around me. Sometimes I don't always feel it, but I know it's there. And I felt it not all the time during my meditation, but it's the place of my escapism.
You can listen to the full interview with Mariam in episode 32, titled Family Estrangement. Next up is Charlie Goodman. Charlie is currently a partner at the Employment Benefits Collective, LLP. He specializes in financial well-being and pensions in the workplace. He is a qualified IFA, financial coach, and reward specialist. Charlie also leads the Initiative for Financial Well-Being's Workplace Well-Being offering. In episode 20, titled Money Mindset, Financial Well-Being and Workplace Savings, Charlie shared that his definition of spiritual well-being is:
spiritual well-being, I think I like to believe that there's something out there. I like to believe that life isn't just dictated by science. I believe in science, but at the same time, I think for me, it's taking moments to think about life and to think about our place in the world and the universe, I think is important. And, I like to believe that sometimes good things happen just because, and maybe not overthink them.
Pamela Windle is a certified women's health coach and hypnotherapist with over 20 years of experience working in the health and wellness industry. She is passionate about supporting and empowering you to reach your optimal health, both inside and out. Pamela believes that spiritual well-being encompasses the following.
Spiritual wealth, and this is really interesting one. When I saw this question, I was thinking, what do I think to this? And spirituality is something that I take seriously, and also acknowledge that it's there, it's present. And so for me, it's more about my ancestors, and about their dream. Like my parents came here to the land of milk and honey that was promised, and they worked really hard and didn't have the milk and honey that they wanted, that they dreamed of. And so for me, it's continuing, taking up the baton for them. So that is my thoughts about spiritual wealth. They're not here anymore, but they live through me.
You can learn more about Pamela Windle and how she supports her clients in episode 36, entitled Health and Wealth. My next reflection comes from Jackie Stewart. She is a chartered certified accountant and a qualified teacher. Jackie is also a qualified money coach for Christians Against Poverty, as well as being the director of her company, Financial Training and Consultancy. Here is Jackie's definition of spiritual well-being.
Spiritual's a good one. I'm part of a church community, and so they sow into me, and I also am able to sow into them. So I think that also makes me very wealthy, because even though it's not the mental, but the spiritual does help with my mental as well. So definitely.
Listen to episode 25, where Jackie and I talk about managing your business finances. The final contribution in this episode of the Wealth Cornerstone series comes from yoga instructor Kinga Kovac. She teaches yoga as a holistic practice, offering a safe space, nurturing and guiding students into self-exploration, building deeper self-awareness where they can rediscover their inherent full potentials as a unique part of this cosmos and feel fully alive and well physically, mentally, and emotionally. Kinga told me in episode 22 that spiritual well-being means the following to her.
Spiritual well-being, for me, it's all about being in alignment with my values. So it's like, so my actions are in alignment with my values, and that gives me a bit of a peace in one way or another, that I know that, I'm not out of alignment and I'm not doing things that just don't agree with me. So I'm all about love and kindness, as naively as it sounds, but I think in practical life, there's a lot to do around that, with other beings, with yourself, and with the wider world and nature and the environment as well.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Connect with me at The Wealth Conversation on Facebook and Instagram so we can continue the discussion. Also, if you enjoy tuning into this podcast, make sure to leave a rating and review everywhere you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Until next week, stay focused on becoming the designer of your financial future.